cost of living, everything is going up, but our pay is going down. This cannot be sustainable for people and then expect them to provide exceptional patient care.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Really looking forward to this conversation. We have on the line Dorothy Stencel, registered nurse at University Medical Center in New Orleans and a member of National Nurses United on the line. Dorothy, welcome to the Valley Labor Report.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Adam, for having me on your platform for me to be able to talk about what UMC nurses have accomplished since we unionized 2 years ago.
Yes, it's we've been following this story very closely since New Orleans is one of the places that we are on the radio. And, you, like you said, you unionized now about a year and a half ago. You just came off of a strike last week, like a day or two ago. Can you talk about why you struck last week and, how everybody's reacted, the nurses, the community, and management?
Absolutely. So we went on strike 2 days ago today. It was the focus of our strike was retention and recruitment of nurses at UMC. What that means is that we've seen a lot of nurses leave the bedside to go travel. We've seen nurses, even new grads, leave the bedside to seek better opportunities by going back to school. And the problem, what that causes, it causes a short staff at the bedside for the nurses who decide to remain. So our strike was really a call for us nurses, calling on leadership at University Medical Center to sit with us and really work on promoting recruitment and retention. And what that means for us is that being able to provide better benefits for these nurses, being able to provide better training for these nurses so they feel comfortable to perform the skills in order to take care of patients and provide exceptional patient care, being able to have the resources that nurses need to be able to succeed at the job, and then also having competitive salaries that reward that. First of all, look at the market value and then also reward nurses for experience and then also for the skills that they have. By doing that, it incentivizes nurses to stay at the bedside, to keep those skills at the bedside, to be able to transfer those skills to the new grads, for those new grads to continue on their legacy on providing exceptional patient care for our patients and community. For our strike, we were able to see a great turnout of nurses at the strike. We had a great camaraderie with the community who are very supportive in our endeavor to really push this forward, get our contract as soon as possible.
You mentioned that, the strike last week was primarily over problems with retention, and that's an astounding thing that this hospital has difficulty retaining nurses when they are making so much money. I mean, we're going to be talking about this a little bit, so I don't want to get too much ahead of you, but they have, your union released a report talking about how this hospital has been able to increase its market share in New Orleans and rake in an insane amount of money, having the highest average charge to cost ratio in the area, charging patients $576 for every $100 in costs for services provided. And, big net income. They don't call it profit because they're a nonprofit hospital. But most of their net income, or a lot of their net income, 40% of it, is going to their executives. Again, I don't want to, I'm sorry for getting a little bit ahead of you, but it's just wild that there's all this money slushing around and they seem to be unwilling to apportion a large enough amount of that money that they've got to nurses to make sure that they have enough people to adequately care for the people that they see.
And that's what we are trying to achieve at the negotiation table. How can we get that money? How can we redistribute that money into the resources that we need at the bedside? How can we redistribute it to really focus on recruiting those nurses, having a line of nurses standing outside the hospital wanting to be part of this level 1 trauma hospital that has all the resources and provides better benefits for their staff, instead of giving that money to the executives, for sure.
Right. And so you mentioned that you had a lot of community solidarity on the picket line. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like how has the community received not just your strike last week, but your unionization and your campaign for a fair contract generally?
I think when we started, when we first unionized, I don't think the community really was aware of the issues that we were having in the hospital. For nurses, as you know, we like to mitigate issues beforehand. But of course, being short-staffed, we run out of the capacity to mitigate every problem that comes our way. So our patients are starting to see those issues are starting to flood into our patients, which we don't want to happen. And that's why we decided to unionize so that we can get help. So our patients and community are now coming to see those issues that we are facing at the bedside, that are affecting them at the bedside, and they're like, enough is enough. The nurse need the support they need to be able to take care of this community, which is their community, for a community hospital. So it's been awesome to really get the support of the community, other organizations in the community that are also part of our patient population, to really rally behind and say, enough is enough. Please give these nurses what they need to be able to give us the care that we need as patients.
You mentioned that you unionized some time ago. I think it was in March of 2024. And as we've been talking about management, you don't have a contract yet. And so management is clearly kind of stonewalling at the bargaining table. We're going to talk about how much money they have and how they have the money to meet your demands. But why do you think it is that they have so far refused to do that?
Well, when we unionized, we submitted a lot of proposals, things that we would like to see UMC really focus on in order to elevate the hospital from what it is today. We've been able to negotiate over time, over several negotiations. We've got to that point where we've achieved some of those things, like workplace violence. We now have metal detectors, things like that we've been able to accomplish at the table. Right now, as we speak, what we are having issues with in moving our contract forward is pay. The hospital has insisted that a majority of nurses prefer merit pay. I don't know where they're getting this majority of nurses. Clearly, if anybody came to our strike line, they would have seen that the majority of nurses were standing outside striking. So what the nurses striking, our strike, what it said that we are not comfortable with what the merit pay is. Just to put it into perspective, the merit pay is a percentage between, I guess, 0 to 3%. And this percentage is based on a survey that you do, and the manager has, depending on how the manager feels about you, that's how you get, that determines what percentage you get. So we would like to really go away with the merit base pay and look at the market value. And look at how can we compensate nurses according to the skills. And in addition, while we are talking about retention, being able to compensate nurses on the skills and experience they have, in order for one, nurses will be able to seek training for them to have more skills to perform great patient care, and then also want to stay because they want to see themselves grow along the nursing career ladder instead of leaving for better opportunities. So we want the hospital to really go away from this merit pay because it's clearly not working. With the market, with the environment and the economy right now, everything is going up. Cost of living, even the insurance that the hospital is offering now is going up even before everything happens in the government. So we are expecting everything to go up, but our pay is really going down if you look at it. So people are having to PRN jobs, people are having to do other shifts. Single family homes can't afford it. Single parent from multiple families cannot afford this. This cannot be a sustainable way for people to go forward and then expect them to provide exceptional patient care while they are struggling in their personal lives.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. And your union released a report last week on the heels of your strike about greed from your hospital's management. What are the big takeaways from that report that you think are important for listeners to remember?
So really, the hospital has made a ton of money. We are talking about more than $3 million in profits here. And this money has been distributed into executive pay. The hospital is charging patients way more money for the services that are being provided. Would love for the hospital to really go back and look at that and see how we can redistribute that back into the staffing and resources so that we are able to keep people at the bedside, and also making sure that our patients are being taken care of. The hospital loves to talk about the spirit of charity. This is a community hospital rooted into the spirit of charity. They need to invest that money back into the patients, the patient population, including the staff, and really show what that spirit of charity is instead of just talking about it. I think the patients would agree with me on that one.
Right. Yeah, I would think so. And let's talk about, you mentioned the millions of dollars in profits. I mentioned earlier about just how, this is, I guess I really don't have, I'm not in the hospital industry like you are, so I don't have kind of a conception for what a normal number is. But the report found that this hospital system has the highest average charge to cost ratio in the New Orleans area, charging $576 for every $100 in costs provided. That sounds bonkers to me. The area average for New Orleans, do what?
That is insane. Even for us, people taking care of the patients, as staff, we can barely afford to get sick at the hospital, which is insane.
Right.
Now, we are talking about a community hospital that should be taking care of the people, low-income individuals, homeless individuals who cannot afford this care. How do you expect them to afford to pay for 500% of whatever that thing costs? So that means people are not going to seek help, or by the time they seek help, they are worse off, and the hospital is spending way more money anyways.
Right.
So I really think we need to rethink the strategy on how to take care of our patients instead of giving the money to executives. So
one of the mechanisms that the NNU's report points to, that NNU says has allowed this hospital system to jack up prices, is their market consolidation. And so they say that, this hospital's market share was 25% in New Orleans in 2015. And at that time, its charge to cost ratio was below the New Orleans average, which is interesting. And so now high levels of market consolidation have led to those aggressive increases in hospital prices. How has this hospital system, become so dominant in New Orleans? And can you talk about maybe some of the other ways that it's bad for workers and consumers?
Oh, absolutely. So before Katrina, I think people who've lived here in New Orleans long enough knew of different hospital systems in the New Orleans area. But since then, these hospitals have been bought up by LCMC, which is an umbrella organization with several hospitals underneath it. So currently, as we speak, we have LCMC, which is a corporate private entity that manages UMC and other hospitals, as well as the auctioner system. So it's really a disadvantage for the community, because now you're dealing with two hospital systems. If you don't like LCMC, you go to auction and you don't like it. I don't know what patients do from there on, which is very bad. So for us, what we are trying to do is being able to really provide the best care that we can, standardizing the rules for the patients, also standardizing things for the workers to be able to sustain this monopoly environment that we have currently. but it's really not competitive. It's competitive for them, but it's really not competitive for us because we only have two for nursing staff and the patients because they only have two systems to work with.
And so can you talk about how some of the things that y'all are fighting for in your contract are going to be able to address these issues and improve patient care and, make things a little bit better for folks in New Orleans?
Absolutely. One of the among the many things that we're really working on right now and have actually been able to push through our negotiating team is the floating for nurses. What that means is that before we unionized, they would get a med-surg nurse with med-surg experience and take them to a specialized area where they are not trained to be in that area. The problem here, it creates a safety issue for the patient because this nurse was not trained or has not been trained to take care of this particular patient population. So what we are asking is that nurses only be floated into the same cluster of patient populations where they've been trained to take care of this population. The other thing is staffing. How do we get the number of nurses to patient ratio on the area? A nurse should not have multiple patients or like an astronomical number of patients to take care of because it's impossible. So having an appropriate number of patient to nurse ratio is very important. And also creating that as a framework, as a baseline standard for the hospital going forward, I think is important for us to have. And also, once again, we are protecting patients, creating safety at the bedside. Some of the things that we've been really fighting for is that grievance and arbitration for nurses. We would like for the hospital to really take into consideration every issue that's being presented to them, instead of seeing an issue and getting rid of the nurse, to be able to follow a disciplinary structure for this, to investigate and give everybody a fair process before they terminate the nurse, because that's one person that's leaving the bedside and they may not be replaced. And when this nurse is not replaced, what happens is that the work that they've been doing is just put onto the existing nurse, who eventually burns out and decides to leave the bedside. So it becomes it's a cycle that we would like to break and be able to create standardized policies, to be able to create standardized rules to follow for the hospital to follow through our contract, because we do want this in writing for them for us to be able to hold them accountable to all these things that we're trying to do in order to protect the patients, to improve patient care, to retain staff, and also create an environment where people want to actually come to UMC, for sure. Among the many things that we've done so far.
Right. Dorothy Stencel is a registered nurse at University Medical Center in New Orleans, also a member of National Nurses United, the union that represents about 600 nurses there. Dorothy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Adam, for having me on your platform.
Yes. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we let you go?
I'm so glad to be part of this union. I think we're doing such a tremendous job, not just at UMC, but also presenting these issues. I'm sure there are so many hospitals out there that have the same issues that we are having currently, and we would like to make sure to let the patients know that we are doing this to protect them, to keep them safe, and also to provide a very conducive environment for them to be, especially during these difficult times as patients at UMC. I am so proud to be a nurse, and thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.